Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the honourable member Andrew Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for getting my name right out of three speakers. Mr. Speaker, I take a call on behalf of New Zealand First for the National War Memorial Park Pukeahu Empowering Bill, and New Zealand First will be, of course, supporting this bill and supporting this initiative of the government and the other agencies, including Wellington City Council, New Zealand Transport Agency and the Ministry of Culture and Heritage. We believe this is a very worthy project as we approach the centenary of World War I, and this is very fitting that such a project is undertaken as a significant milestone in the commemorations of some of our most notable parts of New Zealand history. For those of us who have been to the National War Memorial on a number of occasions, we are always most impressed with the memorial itself and the wonderful building that's there and what it offers in terms of that building structure. But it has always been my impression that it's a great shame that the road immediately in front of it is a busy road and in a sense is a big drawback from the war memorial that's there and the National War Memorial building. And it's not fitting that it is such a busy arterial route such as that. When you compare it to the great capitals of the world and their national memorials, and you think of the likes of Canberra, you think of the likes of Washington, D.C., and my youngest daughter Bryony was in Washington, D.C. this week, and she commented on being able to walk around and see the marvellous monuments and the wonderful memorials in Washington, D.C. It is very notable that a huge amount of national pride is often in its National War Memorial in many countries. And as we've seen in more recent years with the wonderful memorials that have been developed in London, including the New Zealand Memorial there now in Hyde Park. And so I think it is very fitting that finally New Zealand should make its National War Memorial an even more fitting place. Something with a little bit more peace and tranquility, something with a little bit more of the natural New Zealand quiet ambience rather than a busy road roaring straight past the memorial. I've looked at the concept drawings and the concept designs for this, and it is a beautiful park that's envisaged there, with the former road disappearing underneath and well out of sight and sound. And as a result, it will allow larger numbers of people to go and visit the War Memorial and take in the whole ambience and feeling of the place. Also, when there are parades, and I've been to a number of parades there, it will be a much nicer place for our veterans, for our military and for those involved with the parades and the public who are attending to have a more fitting and peaceful and more observant commemoration. I was talking with my colleague Richard Pryor here before, and both of us have attended. Oh, not Richard Pryor. Richard Prosser.
Prosser.
Sorry. It's not a. It's not a day for surnames, and I apologise, Mr. Speaker, to my thing. I'm sure he'll call me names afterwards as well. But Richard Prosser and I. We're just noting that we both attended Anzac Day ceremonies at the Sydney War Memorial Park in the centre of Sydney, and how lovely that is with the ponds and the park that's around it, and how it's such a wonderful fitting situation for their Anzac Day ceremonies. And I can see this being the same situation for the capital city of our country, that this park in the future will be a wonderful place for more and more people to go to. Being an Aucklander, we are very proud of our cenotaph up there in the middle of the Auckland War Memorial domain next to the Auckland War Memorial Museum, and how wonderful it is to have that surrounded by such a large expanse of a green space. And similarly, it would be very appropriate for the capital city to have a similar park around the National War Memorial of a reasonable size, so that, again, it can be commemorated in that way. We owe a great debt to our veterans, and as the Veterans Affairs spokesman for New Zealand First, we're very conscious of honouring them and remembering them. And here in this chamber, when we look at the names around the walls here, great names such as Passchendaele behind me, Gallipoli over there, Messines, Egypt. There's so many wonderful names, and of course more recent ones such as Vietnam and Korea and Malaya and others. It's very fitting that while we honour our veterans and our great commitment to keeping world peace around the world, it's very fitting that we also do this at our National War Memorial in this way. Much of the cost does involve the actual road, and many people who perhaps are not so enthusiastic about this might look at the cost, but much of that is taken up in the actual tunnelling of this, which is going to be of long-term benefit to Wellington, long-term benefit to traffic movements in that area, and effectively the park cost and the memorial costs are an insignificant amount in the greater scheme of things. We believe this legislation is important. Time is of the essence. It will take a reasonable amount of time to get this project completed. We cannot wait till after the World War Moment commemorations to have it completed, so it is important that it is done in a timely fashion. And in matters of national importance such as this, where we would hope there would be agreement across the House to get this done, we would certainly look to have this expedited through this House as quickly as possible so that this project can really get some traction and really make some progress very, very quickly. So just in closing, Mr Speaker, New Zealand First supports this. We think it's very, very timely. It's another way that we can honour those who have fallen in the name of our country, who have given and made the ultimate sacrifice for this country, made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our nation for us to be the good democracy that it is. And in that respect, this is a very, very small price to pay to ensure that we continue to honour what is a great legacy that's been left by those who have fallen in the past and by those who have gone off to war on behalf of New Zealand. So New Zealand First is very happy to commend this to the House and will be supporting it.
I call the Honourable Member Jamie Lee Ross.